Question 2. Who was the strongest innocence? Easy. Everybody knows the answer to this. You, me, anybody.
Vesper Messina, Franco Negro, or Dolores Day? Let's say, was it Dolores Day this time?
Incorrect again. While she originated many modern institutions, launched several successful expeditions, and was even critical of the Innocentic system itself, and somehow keeps popping up in your mind, she is not often considered the strongest. Even though the words most associated with her rule are l'amour, la compassion, la autodiscipline, love, compassion, self-control, which could be seen as facets of strength. Would you like to try again?
Was it Franco Negro?
Correct. Named the innocence of militarism, he codified hereditary rule, but at the same time ended serfdom and established the inter-isolari real as the global reserve currency. He also established the concept of the nation. Franco Negro attempted to solve the rising tensions between the aristocracy and bourgeoisie by building a unified society in which every man has a place and a mission, but at the same time may rise to nobility provided on the strength of his virtue. Question 3. Who was the false innocence?
False
Got
innocence.
it under control. No problem. Solid on this one. It's widespread historical information.
Obviously, I must know it then. Arnaud Pasternak, Kedra, Stepan the Despicable. Stepan is, I guess, the guy we're gonna meet next. Like, I think that guy's name was Stepan. Just for the flavor text, I'll read it.
Incorrect. Stepan the Despicable, regent of Kedra, was a ruler who conquered the known world during the Kedriatic conquest, instead of the despotic Arnaud Pasternak. Would you try again?
Was it Arnaud Pasternak?
Correct. There
There we
have
go.
been a number of counter or false innocences, some assumed to have innocentic qualities, some who just thought so themselves. Occasionally, they have the support of a faction inside the ecclesiastic organization, and accusations of foul play have arisen. The most famous and important of these was Arnaud Pasternak. He was into torture, despotism, hymns, cannons, and world conquest, but got defeated and humiliated by Stepan the Despicable of Kedra. Final stretch. You've come so far and learned so much. This is the most important one. Question 4. Who was the greatest innocence? The most important of them all. The most precious to humankind. I've got it, honest.
That must be Dolores Day, right? Yeah, Dolores Day.
Correct. The Mesk might see Franco Negro as the father of nations, but as of this century, there's been a great shift in attitude. Dolores Day has become widely regarded as the greatest innocence, a most radical change to the whole fabric of the world. Everything from inter-isolary travel to the connected world to 3 consecutive scientific revolutions can be traced back to her. Every decade that passes, she seems less human somehow, and more beautiful.
And terrifying?
Congratulations on finishing the test. The results and your subsequent grade have been calculated. You get
Oh boy, this is not gonna be good, is it?
a D.
Yeah.
Not particularly remarkable, but technically a passing grade. Not that anyone really expected better. You would have done better if you just left Dolores Day for the end. Dial the Dolores Day down a bit.
Damn you, you arrogant book.
What's going on with you?
Thinks it's so smart, goddamn.
Okay.
The lieutenant stares at you, his visage unflinching.
You are shouting at an inanimate object, like a real weirdo. No wonder you seem to have trouble with the right answers.
That's fair. Let's put it away. That didn't pass enough time to take us to the communist meeting. What else can we read? We have read that. We're not going to read that because it does physical and mental damage. Can we read that?
The note is written with a blue pencil on a piece of lined office paper. The kitchen magnets have left spots on its surface.
Does that pass the time?
Someone has scribbled, S. I can't believe the off-site copy is still here. The illiterate ginger kid keeps stealing stuff from the studio, so I had to hide it somewhere safe. You'll find the filament memory with the off-site copy in the frozen ice cream maker. Please take it home, ASAP. It's important. I'd do it myself if I lived in a civilized place with a freezer. Take care. Sully Swaff.
Okay. That did not pass the time. But that's okay. Wait, can we open?
Take the legal documents out of the envelope. A 12 to 40 month construction period and the zoning plan in the addendum.
Wrong one. Wait, we just have to put the documents back. Let's go inside and open it there. Maybe that works for the interfacing. Interact.
You take the legal documents out of the envelope. A 12 to 40 month construction period.
Okay, they could still watch us here. That's unfortunate. Okay, let's go outside for a moment. And let's just quickly, I guess, open the Dick Mullen book again and close it at the right
In
time.
your head.
Now that that's done, might cut that out in the video. Let's get inside and see if we can find the right place. Where, which room was it? Let's see. Not this room. Not here. Probably not here either. Not here either. Okay, where was that? Do we not have that? No? Okay. Wasn't that here somewhere? Do I remember that wrong? Strange. Was it upstairs? Not here. Plenty of skulls here.
As you approach the metal grill, you can hear several
there we
voices having what appears to be an animated discussion.
Let's continue.
This must be it. Beyond this door lies the beating heart of radical communism in Martinez. Somehow, the night air softens the smell of trash and sea brine. As the breeze pulls through the canvas like a shuttle through a loom, you catch a hint of something unexpected. Something earthy, warm, and burnt. The acrid smell of failure. No, that's just slightly burnt coffee. A smell you would recognize anywhere.
Just look at these pigs sniffing about after hours.
Why didn't you say the secret door was right behind you? Hey, it's past curfew, go to bed, Cindy, or ignore her. Let's ignore her.
The metal grill is cool to the touch. You notice the lieutenant is looking uncustomarily anxious. His posture is rigid. His right hand hovers near the zipper of his jacket. He wants so badly to draw his armistice, but he also doesn't want to draw it.
You okay, Kim? Or relax, they're only communists? Or say nothing, relax.
Something's not right here. The equation doesn't quite balance.
He taps his foot and takes a deep breath.
Which is just to say, we should be prepared for any eventuality.
Let's try to
You
listen.
can make out at least 2 separate voices. 2 voices, both male, approximately early 20s.
Careful with those now. I have it. It's going to work. I can feel it.
Let's bang on the grill.
The clang of metal reverberates all along the scaffolding. The voices coming from the other side fall silent.
Who's there? Is that you, Maurice?
It's not Maurice, it's the police. That's right, it is I, Maurice. Are you all communists? I'm looking for some communists.
Who said communist? Did we say communist? Get out of here.
Listen, I've already built like 0.0001% of communism, but now I need to get organized. Can you help me?
For a moment, silence.
What's the passphrase?
Blessed are the sausage grinders. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's remember Dobreva and Abadanais. Look, I don't know. I don't know your passphrase. Could you just let me in? I think it was that one.
There's no response. You begin to wonder whether they've slipped out some back way.
Alright. The key's taped to the back of the door frame. Just make sure you put it back when you're done, or we'll all be locked out.
Okay.
And don't wash the concrete. It just kind of falls away, in places.
Charmant. After you, detective.
Have fun at your underground meeting, pig. Hope it's a blast.
I'm sure it is.
The 2 young men are either oblivious to or ignoring your entrance. Their attentions are fixed on whatever it is they're stacking in the middle of the floor. Matchboxes, it appears.
I think it's holding, Alexis.
It is. It's holding.
It's definitely not holding. Those matchboxes are stacked so haphazardly, it's like they want them to collapse.
Careful, careful. Damn, hardly any difference.
The young man shakes his head and then looks up at you and the lieutenant with barely concealed irritation.
You two, you are late.
Sorry.
They should know the meeting starts at 10 p.m. sharp.
His companion looks up at you and squints.
There's a great deal of tension in this young man's shoulders, more than someone his age should bear. Meanwhile, his companion inclines toward him, eager to catch every word that dribbles from his friend's mouth. Just a moment. Could this be the former owner of a certain jacket you acquired recently? Don't let them see you flustered, sire. Play along.
Before we move on, do you recognize this jacket? You weren't exactly easy to find. What am I late for exactly? Play along, my apologies, comrades. I had to be sure I wasn't being tailed by our class enemies. Let's ask that first.
Hey, Steban. Isn't that your jacket?
What a coincidence. You two have the same jacket. What are the odds? Based on the prevalence of white Sarah Mauritian suits in Martinaise, extremely low.
It certainly looks like my jacket, Alexis. Where did you get that, gendarme?
I just found it in a room. Must be a coincidence, I see these jackets all the time. This jacket is RCM property. It's been confiscated as part of an ongoing investigation. I just found it in a room.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. That's real Sarah Mauritian thrill. Only old Sarah Mauritian communists and drug smugglers wear those anymore.
He is neither of those, of course. He is simply a poor student putting on airs. Also, he doesn't have the shoulders to fill out such a jacket.
See, Uli? It's just like Mazovrot. How does it go again?
Those committed to the rights of property are those most apt to violate them.
His companion nods emphatically.
Just a minute. Steban, Ulixis. Why do those names ring the faintest of bells? Probably because they're the real names of Nazteb and Exilus, the authors of that so-called essay about Tip-Top Tournay you read.
Ah.
You should get to the bottom of this when you have the chance.
I assumed it was Maurice who broke into my room to play a trick on me. I didn't think I'd actually been raided by the RCM.
So do you want your jacket back? Listen, comrade, it's not what it looks like. Look, man, it doesn't even fit you anyway. Do you want it back?
Absolutely not. You have to keep it.
Okay.
Can you imagine the look on Maurice's face when he finds out the RCM has been kicking my door down?
He'll shit himself. Positively.
And now they've shown up in force to break up our meeting.
He rubs his hands together excitedly.
Something tells me these young men are not very experienced with law enforcement.
Hold on, we're not here to break up your meeting. We want to join your meeting.
The RCM wants to join us?
Quizzical expression.
My partner, of course, is acting in a strictly personal capacity, not as an official representative of the RCM.
Interesting. Does that mean you've done the reading?
Uh-oh. No one said anything about reading. You'll just have to wing this one.
What is this reading? I thought this was a revolutionary group. There must be some misunderstanding. No one mentioned any reading. Kim, did you do the reading? The reading, yes, I've definitely done that. Should we just wing it? There must be a misunderstanding. You know what? Why not?
Well, this is getting awkward. I'm not sure what you're expecting to find here then.
Maybe they can explain themselves.
What exactly are you two doing here? What were you doing with those matchboxes just now? Do I know you two from somewhere? That's enough for tonight. Will you still be here if I have more questions? What were you doing with the matchboxes just now?
The young man frowns at the little pile of boxes on the floor.
Nothing, just messing around until the meeting started.
They're watching those matchboxes awfully intently for two guys who are just messing around. It's almost as though they were trying to create the most unstable structure they could, with predictable results.
What exactly are you two doing here?
In the most generous sense, I would say we're cultivating revolutionary consciousness.
Yes, that's probably the best way to describe it.
But more specifically, we are running a reading group. The most rigorous and theoretically advanced materialist reading group in Martinez.
Comrade Steban is a great discussion leader. One of the best at the university.
It's obvious they take this group of theirs extremely seriously. Whatever you do, don't compare it to a common book club.
Is this where I can square off in theory combat? Sounds like a place for intense intellectual engagement, exactly my kind of jam. Sounds just like a regular book club. Sounds like a place for intense intellectual engagement.
That's our whole thing. World is so shallow, all noise and repetition. We're interested in genuinely radical critique.
Precisely. We are not interested in senseless parroting. We like to read critically.
Within the contours of Mazovian historical materialism, of course.
I didn't realize they taught a radical Masovian theory in the universities. Okay, so what does your reading group actually read? I think I get the idea. Let me ask about something else. What does your reading group actually read?
We study all the foundational texts of Mazovian theory, of course. Just last week we finished the second volume of Puncher and Watman's Innocence of Capital.
Truly extraordinary.
And before that we spent 6 weeks on State and Plasm.
For some reason, the word plasm catches in your ear like a piece of old wax. Uh-oh. You can feel your attention span rapidly deteriorating.
Force yourself to keep listening.
We've also read Wertmüller's The Megastructure of History and before that, Real and Reality.
Communist theorists love puns, in case that wasn't obvious.
Hablas un pain infernal.
The original Fizdale translation, not that watered down revisionist garbage.
These two deserve the Order of Honor for bullshitting. There's no way they've actually read all this stuff.
Obviously.
But, of course, our special emphasis is on the theories of Ignace Nilsson and his followers, especially the inframaterialists.
Wait, who are these inframaterialists? I know who Krasmazov is, but who is this Ignace Nilsson guy? Wait, who are these inframaterialists?
You're not familiar with him? It's pretty advanced stuff. You may not be ready for it yet, gendarme.
The two young men exchange skeptical side glances. Okay, but then who's this Ignace Nilsson guy?
Only Krasmazov's most trusted lieutenant, the evangelist of the revolution, and a founding father of the People's Republic of Samara.
It's hard to overstate how unimpressed he is that you've never heard of this world historical individual.
He also happens to be the greatest communist theorist after Mazov himself. It was Nilsson who first postulated the existence of ideological plasm, which forms the basis of inframaterialist theory.
Those words again. You've got to find out what this inframaterialist stuff is. Whatever it is,
sorry.
one thing's perfectly clear. These young students have a much deeper understanding of communism than you do. You could learn a thing or two from them. If you can convince them, you're one of them.
Okay.
The young man sighs. His companion looks about furtively.
Did this reading group have anything to do with the lynching? I'm not gonna ask that right away. Where's the rest of your reading group? Do I know you two from somewhere? Is the reading group accepting new members? Where's the rest of your reading group?
What do you mean? This is the reading group.
So there's just two of you? Shouldn't the group have like more people in it? So it's just the two of you?
We're in something of a rebuilding phase.
Ah, I see.
Some of our former comrades didn't have the ideological fortitude our work demands.
Oh god. Okay, but what happened to them?
Intellectual attrition is maybe the best way to describe it. Felix said he couldn't keep up with the reading on top of his classwork. And Susanna wanted to read text other than Mazovian theory. Like novels, if you can believe it.
How horrible.
Imagine the audacity of wanting to read a novel in a reading group.
Novels, unbelievable. I like a good novel every now and then. Maybe you just haven't found the right group yet? Maybe you just haven't found the right group yet?
We've tried recruiting new members, but unfortunately the current intellectual climate is pretty hostile to inframaterialist thought. These days, if you're on the left, the ascendant schools are the Godwaldians and their iconoclasts.
Don't forget about Maurice and the turnips.
Right. Then there was the whole turnip debacle.
What's so bad about the Godwaldians?
They're the most depressing school of communism. They love writing long books with a patina of Mazovian theory to cover up their cheap psychologizing.
A gang of cheap psychologists and intellectual midgets. Typical Godwalders, in other words.
Okay, but Echo Maker, your accent sounds very Godwaldian. Just putting it out there.
It's okay for Uli to say that, because his dad is from Godwald.
Told ya. What's so depressing about their psychology? About their theories?
The Godwald school believe that intellectuals as a class are capable of sparking revolutionary change. So all they can do is critique capitalism from inside itself.
In other words, they have lost faith in their own relevance.
That's why they spend all their time smoking cigarettes and writing long works of criticism that make you want to commit suicide.
That sounds miserable.
It is miserable. That's probably why they're always committing suicide.
Oof.
You see, the Gottwald school look like communists. They talk like communists. But scratch the patina and you'll see beneath that they're just depressed liberals who've read too many books.
Okay, but what about the iconoclasts?
For starters, They love talking about beans.
Beans?
That's right. Iconoclasts are obsessed with beans. They love thinking about beans. They love counting beans. But most of all, they love building models to predict how many beans there'll be in the future.
Nota bene, iconoclast is an extra pejorative form of the already pejorative name Mazovian economists, a moderate school of Mazovianism which advocates the gradual transition to communism through carefully managed economic modernization rather than violent social revolution.
They're by far the most bean-centric school of communism.
I don't get it. Are beans a metaphor? But isn't it good to know how many beans there are? What's wrong with making progress through moderate economic reforms? I mean, beans are probably just money in this case. Let's ask them anyways.
If only. They've got all the beans accounted for in their asset sheets, their quarterly budgets, their future projections. But for some reason, there are never enough beans to go around. So we've just got to cut our bean rations in half.
And next thing you know, there are budget cuts, so now we've got to cut the bean rations in half again. You see, iconoclasts claim to be communists, but in reality they're just liberals with hard-ons for spreadsheets.
And what about the liberals? Are they liberals too? What about Cindy? Is she part of the group? Did you say something about turnips? Yeah, let's ask that.
It's an unfortunate story. You see, our ex-comrade Maurice is something of an economist.
He's studying macro and microeconomics.
Wow, a real intellectual, it sounds like.
The lieutenant arches his eyebrows.
Right. So a few weeks ago we were discussing the extra physical capabilities of the revolutionary state. And Maurice said, what were his exact words, Ulex's?
It was unbelievable. He said, turnips don't care if they are grown by communists, moralists, or Vulcan. They grow just the same.
Basically, he was rejecting the whole foundation of inframaterialist theory.
What is this inframaterialist business they keep blathering about? You've never heard of anything like it.
Remind me what inframaterialist theory says about turnips again, please. Which is not a sentence I ever thought I would say.
Simply that under suitably revolutionary conditions, crop yields naturally increase relative to non-revolutionary crops, which Maurice somehow has the gall to deny.
Susanna said that he has been hanging out with some non-communists lately.
For us, the question boiled down to, if you don't even accept the basic ideas of Nielsen and inframaterialist theory, why are you in the reading group?
I totally understand. I don't understand at all. So you expelled Maurice from the reading group over an argument about turnips?
Well, it wasn't so much that he was expelled.
He just quit coming. We haven't seen him around for weeks.
And what about the liberals? Are they liberals too? What about Cindy?
Cindy is... how to describe her role?
Something of an ideological auxiliary, perhaps.
Yes, that's exactly how I would put it. And naturally, we support her radical counter-liberal aesthetics.
But she refuses to submit an essay, so we can't call her a member of the group per se.
That doesn't stop her from using the room for studio space, of course.
And what about the liberals? Are they liberals too?
Of course not. The only people who actually call themselves liberals are mouth-foaming reactionaries.
Basically indistinguishable from fascists. You'd need an X-ray machine to tell the difference.
I've heard enough. Let's talk about something else.
Go ahead.
Do I know you two from somewhere?
I don't think so. Unless you've been hanging around the Cultural Studies faculty at the École Normale de Recherche.
Perhaps he subscribes to La Fumée.
Yeah, let's show them La Fumée. Wait, you guys wrote for this?
You've read our article.
For the first time since you've met the young man's, For the first time since you've met the young man, words seem to desert him.
That I did not expect.
His companion is blushing now, a sheepish grin on his face.
The energy in the room has shifted ever so slightly in your favor. They're afraid they've somehow embarrassed themselves in front of you.
Well, don't keep us on tenterhooks. What did you think of the essay?
It was a good article. You should keep developing your ideas.
Well, of course that's just an initial foray into the subject. We're hoping to return to it for a more substantial treatment next term. In any case, I'm glad our piece found its audience. That's always the hope with these things, you know.
Is the reading group accepting new members?
We typically only accept new members once per semester. There's this whole process with essays and presentations on assigned topics.
The young man turns to his companion.
But given that we have some extra seating at the moment, I guess we could be convinced to expedite an application or two.
Steban, you can't be serious. For these gendarmes?
I am serious. As materialists, we've got to adapt to conditions as they are. Besides, he'll still need to pass the interview portion of the entrance process.
He turns back to me.
Assuming he's even still interested, that is.
I'll first ask about the lynching.
Lynching? No. We're not an operational cell.
We think of ourselves as more of an intellectual vanguard.
Are you sure my working theory is that communism killed the hanged man? Is your reading group affiliated with the union somehow? Are there any operational communists in Martinez? Let's ask about that first.
No, we're an independent organization. We acknowledge and respect the union's efforts, but our interests are more theoretical than Mr. Clare's.
He speaks the truth.
I believe that. Are there any operational communists in Martinez?
No, unfortunately. The communards were hunted down and killed nearly to a man. All that's left of them are bones and old rifles.
Right, they all got shot in the head, just like the anarchists.
The Insulindian deluge wiped out an entire generation of communists. Afterward, they were all bulldozed into mass graves.
The young man looks slightly queasy at the thought.
His friend, though, seems oddly unmoved. A moment of silence. They're waiting for you to speak.
Sure, let's give it a shot.